Good morning. Good morning and welcome in. We are so glad that you've joined us today. We're going to go ahead and get started, although I know there are folks that are still popping into the weight room and joining us. We're so glad that you've joined us for our session this morning. Free to think, inspired to lead, why you should consider charter schools. Autumn, my co-presenter, and I are excited to share a little bit of our experience and background with you this morning. So Autumn, I'm just going to ask if you can keep an eye on the weight room and let folks in if they continue to pop in, and we can go ahead and get started. Rolando, thank you so much for saying hello. Nicole, thank you. If the rest of you wouldn't mind just dropping in the chat and letting us know who you are, where you're from, and maybe a little something about you as we go through our session. We'll be glad to go through those comments and get to know you. You may have questions toward the end, and so you can do one of two things. I believe there's a Q&A button. Actually, I don't see the Q&A button, but you can just drop a comment in and we'll scan those when we're done to see if you've got any questions. So as we're going through our presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to just drop those in the chat and we will do our best to get to all of those. But yes, welcome in. We're excited that you've joined us for Free to Think, Inspired to Lead, why you should consider charter schools. I'm going to go ahead and let my co-presenter, Autumn, introduce herself and give you a little bit about herself.
Hi, everyone. My name's Cauthron. I am the event and staff recruitment assistant for iLead California, which is part of iLead Hybrid Charter School. I've also worked as a registered office assistant for iLead Online Charter School while earning my BA at Cal State Northridge. So through this work at multiple charter schools, I've kind of developed an appreciation for the impact of teaching as well as the charter school movement. And I'm just excited to pass some of that knowledge on to you guys today.
And my name is Matt Watson. I'm the Executive Director of Development for iLead California Charter Schools. My background, my calling, what I wear most proudly on my chest is that I am a teacher. And I'm very, very proud of that. I have been in education for over 30 years, and I have been a teacher and administrator in a large urban school district here in Southern California. You've probably heard of Los Angeles Unified. That's where I started my career. Worked there as a classroom teacher in elementary as well as middle school before becoming an administrator. After that, I actually moved to a private school for a few years where I worked as a teacher and as an administrator as well. And then in 2011, I made the move to a charter school, joined a charter school here in the North LA County, where again, I was first a teacher and then an administrator before joining iLead California, and have been with charter schools now for, it's been almost half of my career, 13 of my 30 years now. And so I've got a good perspective on what it's like to teach in a school district, a large school district, as well as, again, private and charter. And so we're here to share with you some of the benefits about working with a charter school organization, as it while teaching is teaching and it's getting ever more challenging. The experience of teaching can be different in a charter school versus a traditional district or a private school. So we've got 7 reasons why we think you should join a charter school network or an independent charter school, and we're just going to go through those today. Again, if you've got questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. First off, I want to cover what a charter school is for those of you who might not be as aware. Oftentimes, folks will ask us how are charter schools different than public schools, which is kind of a misnomer of a question. Charter schools are public schools. We are free, to completely tuition free charter schools that are funded in the same fashion that traditional district schools are funded, through your tax dollars and through educational financial initiatives. And so we are public schools, completely tuition free. We are open to all. There is no admittance requirements. The difference between district and charter schools in terms of who we're open to is oftentimes we will have our borders a lot larger. We can serve students within our county as well as adjacent counties. And so charter schools often draw students from a very broad geographic area, especially depending on where they're located or what their educational format is. Charters typically are operated independently. Now, some school districts will open what they call dependent charters, and districts will operate their own charter schools. And I think that's a great way for them to innovate and do some new and exciting things. But most charter schools are independent, which means we have a tremendous amount of flexibility in terms of our curriculum, our teaching methods, who we hire to teach what our school schedules are, things like that. We operate completely independently of a district office. And that allows us to be very innovative and cater to the specific needs of our students. And oftentimes when we get into teaching, it's because we want to do what we know is right by our students. And charter schools allow us the flexibility and the independence to do so, while of course still meeting all of the state requirements, all the state standards and laws and mandates and things like that. Charter schools are intended to offer choice. Autumn and I, for example, work in an area that has great district schools, but our parents and our students are looking for something a little bit different. And whether that's a difference in your mission or the type of curriculum that you offer, it offers parents choice. We are living in the era of school choice, and the school that you choose for your child is a very, very important decision. And so charters are here to offer a variety of choices to families as they enroll their children in school. We are also admission based, which means if our school has more applications than we have seats, then we have a lottery system by which families are admitted by a lottery. There is no admissions test. There's no, we're not allowed to choose our students. You'll often hear charter schools accused of cherry picking. That is something that's illegal. It's a lottery-based admission system, assuming that we have more applications than we have seats in our school. Another thing about charter schools, they are non-sectarian. You may have been seeing some news recently coming out of the Supreme Court discussing this very issue. But in California and throughout the United States, charter schools are still non-sectarian. We are not allowed to be affiliated with any religious institution nor deliver religious instruction. Again, we are public schools and we follow all the rules and requirements of a public school. And yes, we still have a tremendous amount of accountability. In some cases, we have higher levels of accountability. We are accountable to state standards, so we still teach our students all the state standards and the things that they need to know according to the state of California and the Department of Education. Um, we follow all state laws. We are also accountable to our authorizers. We get authorized, meaning we are allowed to operate under the authority of a local school district. So here at iLead California, for example, we operate 6 schools that are authorized by 3 different local school districts. And so we are accountable to those local school districts, even though we operate independently. And then we're also accountable to our own unique school boards. Each charter school typically has their own school board who they are accountable to. So we're accountable to the state, we are accountable to the local district that authorizes our operation, and we are accountable to our own school board. So we meet a high level of accountability. So that's what a charter school is. So now that we're all on the same page about what charters are, let's talk about some of the reasons that you might want to consider a charter school when you're applying for positions. So first off is that innovation and flexibility that I talked about. One of the reasons that I came to a charter school in 2011, and absolutely the number one reason I stay, is the innovation and flexibility. Education is constantly changing. The market is constantly changing. The professional market that we're graduating our students into has changed radically since 2011 when I started working with charter schools. Absolutely, it has changed radically since 1995 when I started teaching. And charters are able to be incredibly nimble and change their area of focus as the market changes, as the needs of their families and students change. As I mentioned before, we've got autonomy in our curriculum and our methods, which means we're allowed to use innovative pedagogical practices rather than having to wait for that kind of large ship of a district to change tack. We're also able to tailor instructional methods to meet the specific needs of our students. Oftentimes, I will remind our teachers in our organization that we don't teach one grade or two grades in high school, middle school. We don't teach 5 or 6 classes. We will teach 25, 50, 100 individual students because they are each unique, which allows us to shape our teaching methods to our own style as well as the needs of our learners. Again, we're able to do what we know is right by our kids. You all have a high quality education and some ideas as to what your students need, and at a charter, you're able to deliver that. Now, this is not legally and always the case, but you will find oftentimes very many times in a charter school that we have smaller class sizes. Remember, being a school of choice, we have to make sure that we're giving our parents a reason to choose us. And oftentimes, charters do understand how important it is to offer smaller class sizes, which, as you're all aware, I'm sure that provides a more intimate learning environment where you build that sense of team or family in your classroom. You often build stronger relationships, not only with your students, but with their families. Think about it. A family that chooses a charter school is highly invested in their school and will be very ready and primed to develop those strong relationships with you, the teacher. Again, with a smaller class size, your students are going to get more of your individualized attention. You're going to be able to connect with them and develop a deeper understanding of what your students need and be able to customize your instruction to that. And of course, with a smaller class size, it is easier to manage that classroom. And again, both because there are fewer students in the class, but also because of those deeper relationships that you're developing.
Okay, moving on to our third point, we're focusing on the strong school culture and mission that often defines charter schools. So unlike traditional public schools, which serve a broad district like Matt was talking about, charter schools frequently have a very specific mission or educational focus. This could be anything from a deep emphasis on arts to a commitment to STEM fields, bilingual immersion programs, or a unique approach like Montessori or project-based learning, most of which are focused on across our network of iLead schools. A focus mission can cultivate a remarkably strong sense of community. So when everyone's involved, the schools, the teachers, the students, the parents, the administration, and all of the support staff, it's drawn together by a shared purpose. It creates a cohesive and supportive environment. The clear vision and set of shared values can be incredibly rewarding for educators. Knowing that you're contributing to a specific and deeply held mission can bring a profound sense of purpose to your daily work. Even when you're not working with kids, I'm support staff and I still feel like I'm bringing that sense of purpose and change. I'm giving tangible things to these kids to take home with them, and it fosters a supportive environment where everyone is working towards the same goals, and it creates a more collaborative and less isolating experience. So building on that sense of community and shared purpose, our fourth reason to consider a charter school is the opportunities for growth and leadership that they provide. So charter schools are frequently, like Matt said, smaller and more nimble than large district schools. So this agility can translate into exciting possibilities for teachers who are looking to take on new challenges and make a real impact in their classrooms. The smaller scale often means there's more room to take greater initiatives. So your ideas and contributions can be more readily seen and implemented. This environment can lead to greater professional development opportunities like curriculum development, school-wide initiatives, mentoring programs, after-school sports, like at some of our schools. And these experiences can provide valuable experience that can accelerate your professional journey and open doors to leadership roles more quickly than in larger, more bureaucratic systems. And we truly value the innovative spirit of our teachers, and we actively seek out opportunities to help them grow and lead within our school community. And then moving on, reason 5 to consider a charter school is parental involvement. I know Matt kind of touched on this with class sizes and things like that, but because parents actively are choosing to send their children to a charter school, they tend to be more involved with their child's education and the school community as a whole. The active engagement can create a pretty good partnership between home and school, leading to stronger student outcomes and more supportive classroom environments. You'll often find parents who are eager to volunteer and contribute, participate in school events, and communicate openly with teachers. And that spirit really makes a difference in the day-to-day life at our schools. And we deeply value our partnership with our families at iLead. Um, finally, finally, it's important to address the practical aspects of your career here at iLead California and across our network of iLead charter schools. Teachers benefit from the STRS retirement system. So just like teachers in traditional public schools, this provides you with the same secure retirement benefits. And additionally, we understand the importance of comprehensive health benefits and coverage. So health coverage is often similar to what you would find in the public school system. So our team and our HR team is also really committed to providing our staff with competitive benefits that support their well-being and their long-term security.
And I'm just gonna kind of highlight that point number 6 there, Autumn. Being an oldie oldster that I am, I remember 30 years ago, I wasn't so focused. Yeah, having a retirement a plan in place was exciting, and I knew I didn't have to really worry about that. Didn't mean so much to me then. Now, as I'm getting toward the end of the career, boy, is this meaningful to me. So make sure as you're applying for jobs that wherever you apply, you're asking that question, is this job STRS eligible? You want to make sure that you're being enrolled in that state teacher retirement system. It is so incredibly valuable. All right, and last but absolutely not least, in fact, this is probably my number one, which is why we left it here as the last reason that you might want to consider working at a charter school is job satisfaction. We work a lot, even if you're talking about just the typical full-time day of 8 hours. That's 40 hours a week. That's over 2,000 hours per year um, that you're working. And you probably all know by now as a teacher, you're going to be working more than that. We spend a lot of time working, preparing for our lessons. And yes, evenings and weekends are often included. It is far too taxing of a job to be spending that much time in our life doing something that we're not happy doing. In fact, I raised my kids to find something that they love doing and do that. And if they can find someone to pay them to do it, then they're truly blessed. You need to find a job you love, and that you will often find. I've worked with a lot of charter schools around California over the last few years, and I have seen charter schools are places where people feel that they can make a difference. Now, I will warn you because I want to be completely transparent. Oftentimes at charter schools, because we tend to be smaller, and because our expenses are typically a little bit higher, we really have to make sure that we run on a lean budget. We're really streamlined. So oftentimes you're going to be asked to get involved in some more adjunct duties. You may be asked to coach a flag football team, or you may be asked to run the science fair, or you may be asked to work with your families in some sort of event. Um, but that's an opportunity to make that difference. It's an opportunity to, as Autumn said, express that leadership. And that's where you're going to find that sense of community where the students are happier to be there, the parents are happier to be there, and the staff is happier overall to be there. When you find yourself at a place with a common mission and a common vision, you're rowing in the same direction as your work colleagues, you're going to find that you enjoy working with those people. You enjoy spending time with those people more. I certainly know I spend a lot more time with my colleagues outside of work than I ever did when I was working in other places, just because we all develop that common sense of purpose. Again, that common sense of purpose, maybe it's the school or the class size. You just have an opportunity to connect with your students and with your parents more. I know I connect with the students and parents that I worked with even as far back as 2011. Still friends with them on social media. I'm still in contact with kids that were in my class 10, 11, 12 years ago. It's you develop those strong bonds, and that's where you really get that sense of purpose, which is why we all got into this career, right? I can't imagine very many of us got into the career to get rich. Yeah, having a nice summer vacation is awesome, but most of us got into this career, and I would venture to say the vast majority of us, because we wanted to make that connection. We wanted to make the difference in the lives of young people, and this is definitely a great way to do it. again, going back to that autonomy, you're able to do what you know is right by children rather than having, a scripted curriculum where you're told exactly what to teach and how to teach it every day. Okay. And then again, something that Autumn touched on, those opportunities to learn, grow, and succeed. I will tell you a little bit about my personal story. The whole reason that I joined a charter school in 2011 is not a very romantic reason, not a very exciting reason. I actually was living, I mentioned my experience working in a private school. That was actually out of the country. My family and I moved out of the country for a few years where I worked at a private school. We decided to come back to Southern California, where I was born and raised, in 2011, and we were still coming out of the 2008 recession, and there were very few schools that were hiring. As a matter of fact, pretty much all of the local districts in my area were laying teachers off. And the only school in my area that was hiring was the local charter school. My experience with larger districts, I figured that that was the place that I was most comfortable with. That was where I had my eyes set. And so I figured I'd take the job at the charter school for a year or two until the local district started hiring. And then I would move back to where, some of my old work colleagues were. Well, again, that was 2011. So what, coming up on 14 years now. Yeah, this was a 1 or 2 year job that I figured. But that was 14 years ago, and I'm here ever since just because I absolutely love what I do, love the people that I come to work with every day, love the students and parents. Um, and it's great to be around other people that love their job. So so those are some of the reasons that we think you might want to consider a charter school. You can find your local charter school by just Googling charter schools near me. Do know that there are quite a few charter schools that teach an independent study model where oftentimes you're able to work remotely. I do see a question here in the chat. We're going to get to that question here in just a moment. I do want to address that. I just want to give others the opportunity as we're coming up on the end of our conversation here to go ahead and drop your questions in the chat. But with that, I do want to get to our final slide. If you are choosing a charter school, iLead operates 6 schools throughout Southern California, and our network is expanding. And that's something that you're going to find for new teachers. um, Enrollment in California is shrinking and jobs are becoming a little bit more scarce. But the charter school network in California is growing. As a matter of fact, and to your question, Gianni, is it Gianni? To that question, are charters less likely to hire new teachers? Absolutely not. You're going to find charters are much, much more likely to hire new teachers for several reasons, and I'll go into those in a moment. But because charters are schools of choice, and we're often innovating and working hard to offer families what they need, what their students need. That is the reason that while in a time where enrollment in public schools in the state of California is down 6 to 8% statewide, enrollment in charter schools is up 10%. So that gets to the why. But yes, charters are very likely to hire new teachers. One, because we need new teachers. We are growing as a movement in California. We are growing, and so we're constantly looking for energetic, passionate teachers who can seamlessly mold into our mission and vision. Number two, the best way to build the specific types of teachers into your mission and vision. For example, at iLead Schools, we focus heavily on social emotional learning, project-based learning, and you've probably figured out by now an individualized learning. And the best way to develop teachers who can do that effectively is to get them early, right? If you get a guy like me who was already old when he joined the charter school network, it's a little bit more of a process that I went through to change my teaching methods, to change my understanding of teaching and learning, and then kind of get on board. Did take me a couple of years. And so we love hiring new teachers. It's an added benefit that I actually didn't mention. Charter schools in California are considered nonprofit organizations. And as nonprofit organizations, little known fact, we are actually required to start new teachers at a higher base level salary. You heard me right. Charter schools are actually required to pay new teachers more than local district schools. So there's a huge reason right there why you might want to reach out to a charter school. Um, I'm not seeing any other questions there in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a couple of more minutes if you'd like to ask us any questions. But yeah, otherwise we've got a QR code here that leads to EdJoin. If you'd like to scan that with your phone and start looking around, Google's a great thing, and so if you want to Google charter schools near me or charter schools in, and then insert your area, take a look. I think you might be surprised. There's a lot of us out there that are doing amazing things. You're going to find charter schools that focus heavily on arts, music, and entertainment, for example. You'll find charters that there's actually a huge movement to cater to those elite level athletes, students who are working hard on on becoming that next level athlete, and they're training 4, 5, 6 hours a day, and so they're looking for a charter school to tailor to their needs. Or here in Southern California, we've got a lot of actors and entertainers. We also have charter schools that focus on one of our schools, very heavily focused on the aerospace industry. That school is in an area considered to be Aerospace Alley near Edwards Air Force Base, and in an area where there are over 70 companies that work in manufacturing and design for the aerospace industry. So they've become an aerospace school. So you can find something that you are particularly passionate about, and take your career in directions that you never thought were possible. So with that, I know we are a little bit early, but we thought there would be more questions, but apparently we've answered everybody's questions, Autumn. I know you've got a lot of things on tap today. I was looking at the different topics that are offered to you, so we hope that you enjoy the conference. Have a wonderful time, and unless we're going to stay here if you've got any more questions, but you've got a place to reach out to us if you'd like. Please make sure that you complete that survey that just got dropped in the chat. Emily, thank you very much for doing that. Please fill out that survey. Let us know how we did, what we could do better for you next time. And if you've got any specific questions, you can go ahead and reach out to us at iLeadSchools.org. Autumn and I are on that email group, and we will get back to you. And we'll be glad to answer your questions about our organization in specific, or just teaching at charter schools in general. So you've got a little bit of time, pour yourself that extra cup of coffee, and we will we hope you have a wonderful day at the conference. And again, please make sure that you hit the evaluation form that is there in the chat. Emily just dropped it there, and give us your feedback.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again. Enjoy the conference.
All right. Happy Teacher Appreciation.
Absolutely. Thank you for that call out. You know, teachers are the greatest people in the world. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week.
Yeah, I'm just starting my journey, so hopefully I'll be appreciated someday soon.
You know what? Somebody who would take on this calling is truly a special person. So, Gianni, you're already appreciated.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks for joining us.